So JR is asking, how long before you think you're able to start to realize actual speed in machine production? In other words, speed it up. The refurb machines bump to the front of the queue. One last question. Are you seeing an increase in issues as part of the transition to the new machine? Okay, so there's a couple questions there. So firstly, we've just hired a bunch of people. So we went from 18 to 25 people in a month. And we're trying to figure out how those people can integrate well. We're essentially doing a mentoring system where we get someone who's been here for 2 years to pair with someone who's brand new and try to do that. Because the last time we added a lot of people, we did see some defects increase. And that's frustrating because then frustrating for everyone, clients, us, it's expensive. We haven't seen a defect increase, probably because there's a couple big changes. One is I'm back and I'm here right in the middle of the factory as opposed to in California. Fabrice, who's an R&D engineer, but really minds the factory, he's sitting on the other corner of the factory too. And he now, for every machine, does a full 5-minute complete test of everything. So he gets gloves on and pulls every single wire. And we didn't used to do that. So having someone senior there, that seems to have helped. So I haven't seen new problems. We are kind of lucky because there was a bit of a depression here in Hong Kong. First, there was social unrest and then COVID and no more tourism. So Hong Kong has been at full employment pretty much permanently. And so hiring, we've just not been able to hire people with any engineering background. The people who are the two heads, Hannaford is a barista, Eleanor was a housewife. They both now do their job great, but they had to start from zero. And we did suffer from having people who didn't have power tools or tool experience. And so I have some, but I'm no master. But since then, like Constantine, who used to have a company, his own company building amplifiers, he's come on and his tool mastery is very high. So there's a lot more tools coming in, all German stuff. And then standards for things like torque have been something that have been a problem. All our screws are changing to having Loctite built into them so they don't loosen. Loosening screws during shipping has been a problem for us. Everything's changing from Phillips to what's it called? Pentalobe, I think it's called. And that gets rid of stripping because that your head really locks in there and then you don't have stripped heads. So all those little changes have increased the quality. There's other things. So for example, a lot of the cables, if you open up your D1, you'll see these rainbow cables that we then cover with another sheath. Just as we have more brain power and more skilled people, those things are getting swapped out. So those are replacing next week with cables that have heavy duty insulation already wrapped around them. So the pace of change is quite dramatic, especially on the quality side, because I really need to get processes down and a lot less handwork. So as you can see from the tables here, there's tubing there, but that station is not yet set up for water. So that got wired up like 5 days ago. We had one table that has water. We didn't have enough. We only had 4 110 transformers. So the new process I had for testing couldn't scale. But what I really like about doing the new process is that I am doing it in an open way. In other words, I'm creating new profiles, documenting how they work, what tools we use, and then documenting them for you guys. So any tests, pressure calibration, flow calibration, as well as stress tests, leak tests, all that you guys can do too if you have any worries or you want to recalibrate. Ray just finished the design for what's called a BeagleBone, which is like a very open Linux configuration. It's a BeagleBone computer that allows you to do everything from it. And that's going to be what we call the Puppet Master because it pulls the strings of the D1. And that's going to be a completely open hardware spec. We will probably sell those boards as well. I was talking to Reed Taylor, who is looking at that as a kind of plucky version 2. It isn't this big anymore. It's now this big, but it can talk to the outside world in a way that's kind of interesting. So you can add foot pedals and controllers and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I wouldn't say that we have a lot of speed increase yet. Probably, probably that 27% speed increase, 20% of that is working Saturday. Definitely getting the refurbished machines repaired is the opposite direction, right? That slows us down. It's slower to repair a 1.0 machine than it is to build a 1.3 machine. Anyway, I think we only have three machines to repair right now, down to about 20. And then refurb machines, are refurb machines bumped to the front of the queue? No, so refurb machines do not appear on the queue. When I get so anyone who's bought a machine and looking at decentspresso.com/queue is looking at a perfect new machine. If you're interested in a refurb machine, please send me a message through any of the social media channels, and I'll put you on the Basecamp project called Cheap Decent. There's about 600 people on that right now. I think there are 6 or 7 machines that are going to drop today on there that are all refurbs. And those range from being full price because there's no buyer. So we built slightly too many D1XLs. Actually, what happened is a number of D1XL customers decided to go from 1.3 to 1.4. Because we made them wait so long because we had the part shortages, we upgraded everyone from 1.3 to 1.4 for free who wanted to get one. So it's like an extra 2 months to get a 1.4. So we've got some of those. And then there are 5% discounted brand new 1.3s. I mean, and that's because they have there's a little dot somewhere. It's barely a defect. And then all the way down to 1.0 machines that are 40% off the current machine price. So I think I have 2 of those appearing. There's a bunch of 1.1 machines appearing today, and those are 28% discounted, I think. Don't quote me on that. I have to do those numbers later today. And so those go to the queue. Sorry, those don't go to the queue. Those go to the Cheap Decent group where someone says, I'll take it, and that's that. If someone is on the queue to receive a new machine and they want to refurb, first of all, you have priority. So you get to cut in line in front of everyone else. And secondly, if you take a refurb, we refund you the price difference. So anyone who's bought a machine who decides they want to refurb to get a machine right away is no problem. You guys are first in line. Oh, and then the last question from JR. Are we seeing an increase in issues as part of transition to the new machine? I wouldn't say it's an increase in issues, it's a change in issues. As I mentioned, let's see if I don't see one of the new heaters around. But I'll show you with this. The issue we've got, and it's just a small one, but the D1 is, a pretty compact little machine. This little piece of metal, this is a stainless steel tube, but it ends with that. On the new ones, this is varying from this to this. And obviously when it's over here, it's now interfering with the thing next to it. So we can take a metal tube and take it and bend it. Same thing down here. So there's a bit of interference, but anything with that? I think what's going on with 1.4. We don't know. We actually haven't built a 1.4 machine yet. We're still waiting for a few more parts. So we're doing some assembly work. There's so little different. I think the only thing that we haven't been able to test in production is the new power supply going from 35 watts to 60. That takes a new bracket. And once we have that bracket, by the way, that bracket was designed so it should work fine in 1.0 and 1.1 machines. So anyone who wants the higher wattage power supply, you can get it. On that note, actually, there are a bunch of cases now where Ray is able to measure the current usage with that electrical clamp that's in the machine. and he can detect when there's enough available power for us to operate the catering kit or the plumbing kit. So currently, if you run out of water, the machine goes filling water. And there's going to be a firmware drop, not right away, it's going to be probably a couple months, but we're going to start having cases where we can refill water in the background while you're working. So an example would be, I don't know if we'll be able to do it with a pour over, but with steam, I think we can do, for example. So while you're steaming, we can fill the tank up. The idea is to get rid of any pauses that we have. I think with the 35-watt power supply, well, I know so, we're not going to be able to have background refilling in every case. So there'll be times when you end espresso. Espresso, for example, uses a lot of power. When you end espresso and then it fills the tank up. Not that big a deal because you have to knock the puck out and clean your portafilter. But with the 60-watt power supply, we'll be able to do background refilling at all times. There's also some, besides the firmware, there's going to be some new tablet setting that I have to program so that those of you who upgrade your 1.1 machine can say, I have the bigger power supply now.